This is the story of a girl who became stronger than anyone thought. She went to prison as a traitor when she was young. She came out years later as a queen. She never married, and she gave her life to her country. People still talk about how she fought great empires. Her name was Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen who ruled an empire. Chapter 1. A Dangerous Little Girl. Elizabeth was born on September 7th, 1533, in a palace in England. Her father was King Henry VIII. Her mother was Anne Boleyn, his second wife. Everyone expected a boy. A boy would be the next king. Instead, a baby girl arrived. The king was disappointed, but he still loved his new daughter. Nobody knew that this little girl would become one of the most famous rulers in history. London in the 1500s was a busy, noisy city. Narrow streets were full of people, horses, and carts. Merchants sold cloth, meat, and bread in loud markets. People often walked past street sellers calling out prices. Children played simple games near the market stalls. The River Thames was like a highway, full of boats moving up and down. Rich people wore bright silk clothes. Poor people worked hard just to eat each day. It was a world of big differences. It was full of energy and danger at the same time. Elizabeth's early life was not easy. When she was only 2 years old, everything changed. Her father accused her mother of terrible crimes. Most historians now believe these charges were false. Anne Boleyn was executed, killed by the king's order. Young Elizabeth lost her mother in a shocking, sudden way. She was declared illegitimate. This meant she was no longer seen as a true royal heir. A royal heir is someone next in line for the throne. Her path to power seemed to disappear overnight. Despite this sad beginning, Elizabeth had a very good education. She was smart from a young age. Her teachers noticed this quickly. She learned to speak several languages very well, including French, Italian, and Latin. She studied history, poetry, and religion. She read for many hours every single day. Her teachers were often amazed by how fast she learned new ideas. She loved reading books more than playing simple children's games. This education would later help her rule a whole country. The world around her was also changing fast. England was moving away from the Catholic Church. Her father had created a new church, the Church of England. This religious change caused deep conflict across the country. Families disagreed about faith. Neighbors sometimes became enemies over religion. Young Elizabeth grew up watching these problems grow every single year. Her father married 4 more times after her mother died. Each new marriage brought new drama to the family. Elizabeth had a half-sister named Mary and a half-brother named Edward. All 3 children had different mothers. All 3, at different times, would hold the English throne. This created years of complicated conflict in the family. When King Henry died in 1547, young Edward became king. He was only 9 years old. Elizabeth was a teenager during this time. She lived a quiet, careful life, trying not to attract too much attention. Court life was full of dangerous politics. One wrong move could mean prison or even death. She learned to watch, listen, and stay silent when necessary. Edward died young after ruling for only 6 years. This started a confusing and messy fight over who should be the next king or queen. For a short time, a different young woman took the throne. But soon, Elizabeth's half-sister Mary won the power struggle. Mary became queen, and she was a strong Catholic. She wanted England to return fully to the old Catholic religion. This was a frightening time for Elizabeth. Mary suspected her younger sister of secretly planning against her. Elizabeth was even sent to the Tower of London for a while. This was a place used to hold dangerous prisoners. She was terrified she might be executed, just like her mother. She wrote desperate letters, saying again and again that she was innocent and loyal. Somehow, she survived this dark chapter of her life. Elizabeth learned powerful lessons from these frightening years. She learned to be extremely careful with her words. She learned that trust could be dangerous in the royal court. She learned patience, and she learned how to hide her true feelings. She also learned to smile at people she did not fully trust. This helped her stay safe in a dangerous world. These skills would later make her one of history's cleverest rulers. Her difficult childhood was slowly preparing her for an incredible future. Chapter 2: A Queen is Born. In 1558, Queen Mary died after a difficult time as queen. Elizabeth was 25 years old. Suddenly, she was Queen of England. Church bells rang across London. People celebrated in the streets with music and dancing. After years of fear and uncertainty, Elizabeth finally had real power. She promised herself she would rule wisely and carefully. The country Elizabeth received had many problems. England's treasury, the country's store of money, was almost empty. Religious conflict between Catholics and Protestants was still very strong. Other powerful countries, like Spain and France, saw England as weak. Many people doubted that a woman could successfully rule a kingdom. Elizabeth needed to prove herself quickly to everyone watching. One of her first big challenges was religion. She created a compromise between Catholic and Protestant beliefs. This new approach was calm and fair, not too extreme in either direction. It wasn't perfect, but it reduced violence significantly across the country. People slowly started to feel calmer about religious differences. This wise decision showed her practical, thoughtful way of ruling. Elizabeth surrounded herself with clever advisors she could trust. One of her most important advisors was William Cecil. He became her closest friend in government matters. Cecil was intelligent, loyal, and extremely hardworking every single day. Together, they built a strong, stable government for England. Elizabeth listened carefully to advice, but she always made the final decisions herself. Elizabeth also worked hard to keep peace with other countries when she could. War was very expensive, and she often chose peaceful talks instead. She sent skilled messengers to speak with foreign leaders. This kept her country safer for many years. Marriage was a constant topic during the early years of her rule. Many powerful men across Europe wanted to marry the young queen. Kings and princes sent letters proposing marriage alliances. Her advisors constantly pushed her to choose a husband. They believed a king would make England stronger and safer. However, Elizabeth had very different ideas about her future. She understood something important about power and marriage. If she married, her husband would likely control everything. She would lose much of her independent authority as queen. Instead, Elizabeth chose a bold, unusual path. She decided to never marry at all. She called herself the Virgin Queen, dedicated fully to her country. This decision shocked many people at the time. It was extremely unusual for a woman in power. But Elizabeth used this choice cleverly for political reasons. She kept foreign countries interested through marriage talks without actually committing. This gave England useful advantages in relations with other countries for many years. She played a careful, clever game with international politics. Elizabeth also cared deeply about how people saw her. She understood the power of image and appearance. She wore beautiful, expensive dresses covered in jewels. She traveled around England so ordinary people could see her. These trips were called royal progresses, and crowds gathered to watch. Ordinary families waited by the road for hours just to see her pass. Children waved flags and threw flowers in her path. She wanted her people to feel connected to their queen. During this time, England's navy started becoming much stronger. Brave sea captains explored new lands across the ocean. Adventurers like Francis Drake sailed to distant, unknown places. Some of these trips by sea brought great wealth back to England. Others involved risky attacks on Spanish ships and treasure. This made Spain increasingly angry with England. Art and culture also began growing very well under Elizabeth's rule. Writers, musicians, and poets found new inspiration everywhere. Theaters opened in London, attracting large, excited crowds. People from every part of London came to watch the new plays. Some plays made audiences laugh, and others made them cry. A young writer named William Shakespeare began his amazing career. This period later became known as a golden age. Elizabeth's rule gave English culture a confident, creative new energy. By her 30s, Elizabeth had proven her doubters wrong. She ruled with intelligence, patience, and remarkable political skill. She balanced difficult decisions between religion, money, and foreign relations. Her advisors respected her sharp, careful judgment on most matters. Slowly, England was becoming stronger, richer, and more united under her leadership. Chapter 3: Rivals and Growing Danger. As Elizabeth's power grew, so did the dangers around her. Her cousin, Mary Queen of Scots, became a serious problem. Mary was Catholic and had a strong claim to England's throne. Many English Catholics secretly hoped Mary would become their queen instead. This created a dangerous conflict between the two royal women. Mary, Queen of Scots, eventually fled to England, seeking safety. She hoped Elizabeth would help protect her from enemies in Scotland. Instead, Elizabeth saw Mary as a serious political threat. Elizabeth kept her cousin under careful watch for almost 20 years. Mary lived under guard, moving between different English castles. During these years, several plots formed against Elizabeth's life. Catholic supporters wanted to remove her and place Mary on the throne. Spies worked secretly, sending coded letters back and forth. Elizabeth's advisors, especially a man named Francis Walsingham, worked hard to stop them. Walsingham built a skilled spy network across England and Europe. His spies worked day and night, reading secret letters and following strangers through dark streets. One plot, known as the Babington Plot, was extremely dangerous. Conspirators planned to assassinate Elizabeth. This meant they wanted to kill her and take away her power. They also wanted to free Mary from prison. Walsingham's spies discovered secret letters revealing the whole plan. These letters proved Mary knew about and supported the murder plot. This evidence finally gave Elizabeth's advisors what they needed. Elizabeth faced an incredibly difficult decision after this discovery. Mary was family, a fellow queen, and royal blood. Executing another monarch was very rare in Europe, yet Mary had clearly plotted against Elizabeth's own life. After much hesitation, Elizabeth finally signed the execution order. Mary, Queen of Scots, was executed in 1587. This event shocked royal courts across the entire continent. Catholic countries, especially Spain, were very angry about the execution. King Philip II of Spain saw this as unforgivable. He had religious and political reasons to hate Elizabeth already. Now, he decided England needed to be punished severely. Philip began building an enormous fleet of warships. This massive fleet became known as the Spanish Armada. His plan was simple but big, bold, and frightening. He wanted to invade England and remove Elizabeth from power. He wanted to return England to the Catholic religion by force. News of the coming invasion spread fear across England. Elizabeth needed to inspire courage in her frightened people. She traveled to Tilbury, where her soldiers were gathering. Standing before her army, she gave an unforgettable, powerful speech. She told her soldiers she had the heart of a king. She said this, even though she was a woman. This speech became one of the most famous in English history. Her words gave soldiers and sailors real courage and determination. She promised to fight alongside them if necessary. Her people felt inspired, proud, and ready to defend their homeland. This moment showed her incredible skill as a leader. In the summer of 1588, the Spanish Armada finally arrived. Over 100 large Spanish ships sailed toward England. The English Navy, smaller but faster, prepared to fight back. English ships used clever plans against the Spanish fleet. They also used fast fire ships. These were ships filled with fire, sent straight into the enemy. Sailors on both sides fought bravely through smoke and noise. The sea turned wild and dangerous during the fighting. Chaos spread through the Spanish group of ships during the battle. Then, terrible storms hit the Spanish ships as they sailed away. Many ships were destroyed by powerful winds and rough seas. Thousands of Spanish sailors died during this disastrous journey home. Many sailors who survived the storms walked home across strange lands, hungry and afraid. England's victory over the Armada felt almost impossible to believe to everyone. People believed God himself had protected their brave, clever queen. This victory made Elizabeth incredibly popular across all of England. It proved her country could defend itself against powerful enemies. Her reputation as a strong, wise leader grew even stronger. However, years of conflict, worry, and hard decisions had made her very tired. The pressures of being queen never truly disappeared, even after victory. Chapter 4: The Golden Sunset. As Elizabeth grew older, England continued changing around her. She had ruled for over 30 years by this point. Her advisors, once young and energetic, were also growing old. William Cecil, her most trusted friend, eventually passed away. Elizabeth felt increasingly alone as familiar faces disappeared around her. The final years of her time as queen brought new challenges and struggles. Bad harvests caused food shortages across parts of the country. Wars continued draining money from England's royal treasury. Some people started criticizing her rule after so many decades. Yet Elizabeth remained determined to keep serving her beloved country. Despite these difficulties, English culture continued to grow very well. Shakespeare wrote many of his greatest plays during this time. Audiences filled London theaters to watch these exciting new stories. Poetry, music, and exploration all continued growing across the nation. This later period became remembered as a true golden age. Elizabeth never married, just as she had always promised. She had no children of her own to inherit the throne. This created serious questions about what would happen after her death. Who would become the next ruler of England? This uncertainty worried many people across the kingdom. Elizabeth understood that her people needed to see a strong, confident queen. Artists painted many pictures of her, showing rich dresses and calm, powerful eyes. These pictures were sent across England and Europe. They helped people believe in her strength, even during hard times. As she aged, Elizabeth's health slowly began to decline. She lost close friends and important advisors one by one. She became more tired, more quiet, and more thoughtful. She still wrote letters, met with advisors, and cared about her people every day. She never stopped working, even when she felt very tired. Her sense of responsibility toward England never seemed to weaken. In March 1603, Elizabeth's health took a serious turn. She grew weak and stopped eating properly. She spent her final days at Richmond Palace, surrounded by worried attendants. On March 24th, 1603, Elizabeth finally passed away peacefully. She was 69 years old. She had ruled for 45 years. Her death marked the end of an entire royal family line. She was the last ruler from the Tudor family of kings and queens. Before dying, she reportedly named her cousin's son as heir. This was James, the King of Scotland. He now became King James I of England, too. This united the crowns of England and Scotland together. News of Elizabeth's death traveled quickly across the country. People felt genuine sadness at losing their longtime queen. She had ruled during one of England's most memorable, most important periods. Her funeral was grand, with thousands watching the parade move through London. Many called her time as queen a golden age, and this name stayed forever. So why do we still remember Elizabeth today, centuries later? She ruled successfully during an era when women rarely held power. She balanced religious conflict with careful, thoughtful compromise and patience. She defended her small island nation against a much larger empire. She supported art, culture, and exploration throughout her long time as queen. People still visit her tomb today. They still read her letters and speeches in schools around the world. Elizabeth proved that intelligence and a clever plan could defeat pure strength. She showed the world a woman could rule as powerfully as any king. Her famous words at Tilbury still inspire people even today. She turned personal hardship, fear, and loss into remarkable inner strength. Her story reminds us that great leaders often rise from difficult beginnings. Today, Elizabeth I remains one of history's most celebrated rulers. Books, films, and plays continue telling her fascinating story worldwide. Her time as queen brought stability, culture, and pride to a divided nation. The Virgin Queen never had children, yet her legacy still lives on. Centuries later, her name still shines brightly through English history. Vocabulary Review. Let's review 8 important words from Elizabeth's story. Learning new words helps you understand history even better. The first word is illegitimate. This means not officially accepted as a true legal heir. In the story, Elizabeth was declared illegitimate after her mother's death. The second word is execute. This means to kill someone as a legal punishment. Sadly, Elizabeth's mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed by the king's order. The third word is compromise. This means finding a solution that partly satisfies different sides. Elizabeth created a religious compromise between Catholic and Protestant believers. The fourth word is alliance. This means an agreement between people or countries to work together. Marriage alliances were often discussed between Elizabeth and foreign princes. The fifth word is conspirator. This means a person who secretly plans something illegal with others. The conspirators in the Babington plot wanted to assassinate Elizabeth. The sixth word is invade. This means to enter another country by force, usually with an army. King Philip planned to invade England using his large fleet. The seventh word is fleet. This means a large group of ships traveling and fighting together. The Spanish Armada was an enormous fleet sent against England. The eighth word is legacy. This means something important that a person leaves behind after death. Elizabeth's legacy still influences how we see strong leadership today. Now you know 8 new useful words from history. Try using them in your own sentences this week. Speaking new words out loud helps you remember them faster. I hope you enjoyed learning about Queen Elizabeth I today. Thank you so much for listening until the very end. If you liked this story, please watch our next video too. There are many more amazing historical stories waiting for you. See you very soon for another exciting journey through history.